Hello. Hey, everybody. This is Dragonfire here. And I just decided to hop on and go live. I wanted to just talk to you guys all. Um, you know, as I'm sure everybody is aware, we've had some major celebrity deaths this week, just this week alone. Um, I myself am a big basketball fan and, of course, professional wrestling fan as well. Um, and every time one of the legendary basketball players of the past or professional wrestlers of the past dies, especially the big name or someone that I'm familiar with, it really hits me emotionally. And, um, I remember when Bray Wyatt died, um, not that long ago, a couple of years ago or so. Um, an active professional wrestler. From everything I've known about him, a great, young man in the business, working his way up. Still, already was a multiple-time world champion in WWE. I didn't know him personally. I do, or I have met some. Being in the professional wrestling business myself, I have met some of the legends of the business, as well as some of the, um, active people in the business. Like I knew Jacob Fatu, had wrestled Jacob Fatu before he even went to WWE, and now he's doing great there in the WWE. Um, so I wish him nothing but the best, obviously, and it's fantastic. I was so happy when I found out he signed with WWE. Um, so uh, these things had a personal connection for me, and a lot of times. Um, so three big ones that have happened just recently, like just this week. Um, we had, I want to get his name right here, Malcolm Jamal Warner, I believe is his name. And for people my age, especially, he was Cliff Huxtable on the Cosby Show, where he followed the Huxtable family. Although I wouldn't blame anybody for thinking that their last name was just Cosby. Of course, Bill Cosby has been a controversial figure um, for a number of years now. And it's unfortunate because sometimes, things can happen like that with, people's real life people aren't always the people that they play on TV, right? But the Cosby Show and the Huxtable family, they, you know, that was such a huge show when I was a kid growing up. And Cliff Huxtable, that character that was played by Malcolm, uh, uh, or Jamal Malcolm Warner. Um, and I know he was in other stuff too. I know that he played some side characters here and there on TV shows and movies and whatnot. But um, really, uh, he would Cliff Huxtable, that character, was like an older brother to so many of us who grew up in that time. Um, so many of those TV shows of the 80s and 90s that I remember watching when I was a kid, um, in some ways they were like family to kids. like us, and not just kids, but adults watch those sitcoms and whatnot, and so many of those TV shows about those just families going for everyday family life is like it felt like the family living down the street from you, or in some cases the family that you wished you had. If you grew up under tougher circumstances, and the Cosby Show was very much that. It was very, I think, an idealized version of a family that went through their struggles, but they were still very loving and caring. And um, the it was there was just a connection there that I think so many people felt. Like I said, you know, and there was dozens of those TV shows, and nobody wanted to be the Bundys, right? The Bundys from Married with Children, right? But some people could relate to that situation. But everyone wanted to be the Huxtables, And the Cosby Show was such a great show. And Cliff was like an older brother to a lot of us, I think, or to people around my age, I guess. And then Ozzy Osbourne. I talk about music a lot on this channel. I do a lot of music related content, and Black Sabbath, one of the greatest bands of the 1970s. Um, Ozzy was uh, he meant so much. Like I said, Black Sabbath. For me, their best album was their second album. I believe came out in '71. Paranoid. The title track on that album is a great song. Paranoid is a great song. I believe that one also has War Pigs, and what is Iron Man is on that album. Um, for me, that's far and away Black Sabbath's best album. And Ozzy was the lead singer of Black Sabbath during the 1970s. In the 80s, he went solo, and um, he put out, I think his 80s and 90s albums for Ozzy Osbourne are as good, if not better than just about anybody else you can name out there. They're as good, if not better. Um, and yeah, Ozzy Osbourne was really something. And then you had uh, yeah, he had such a great career. Like I said, so many of those. There's so many songs on those albums that Ozzy put out in the '80s and '90s. Uh, Perry Mason, if you're not familiar with that song, I believe it's from early to mid '90s album called No More Tears. He has a song called Perry Mason. I believe, like I said, I believe that's on the Osmosis album. Um, Fantastic. Uh, who else was there? There were a number of other uh, albums and songs. They're just not coming to me. But there was Diary of a Madman and Bark at the Moon, and so many others. Of course, in those first two albums, the first two Ozzy solo albums, the guitar player Randy Rhoads was on those albums, who also played on the first two Quiet Riot albums from the '70s, and um, died way too young. Randy Rhoads, very gifted guitar player. I have I have every album that Randy Rhoads ever played on in my in my collection, my CD collection. Uh, and of course, the big one for me as a professional wrestling fan, Hulk Hogan passed away. Um, Hogan was a controversial figure. Depending on how big of a fan you are or how closely you follow, you may or may not know some of the controversies that he went through in his life, or the real life person who played that character went through. Um, and I'm not talking about his political affiliation, because I believe that there are reasons why people vote for who they vote for, and if you're Republican, you're Democrat, whatever, there's reasons, and I get it. The politics are hotly divided right now in our country, but just try to show some understanding to the other side of the aisle. If you're not, whichever side of the aisle you're on, try to show some understanding to the other side. I'm not going to go into that. I don't do politics on my channel. But I just mean from his personal life, other things that he was involved in, that there were lots of reasons why, people may have been fed up with the person who played that character. But as a fictional character, as Hulk Hogan, uh, he's the reason I became a wrestling fan when I was a kid. He inspired me to want to become a professional wrestler myself. Um, I met Hogan on 2 occasions. Was able to talk with him a little bit the first time I met him. Um, and that period of time, like, he really started to kind of rise to fame in maybe 83 or so. Won the WWF Championship in 84. That period of time, during that run for like 20 years there, throughout WWF and WCW, and then coming back to WWF and then changing their name to WWE before he became semi-retired or mostly retired. He did make a few appearances after that, but there was a good like 20-year run there, from like 83 or 84 to like 02, 03, especially. So 02, 03, 04, whatever, like that he was big, 12-time men's world heavyweight champion between WWF and WCW. Um, During that period of time was the first recognized world heavyweight champion of a major Japanese promotion. A lot of people may not know that. So you count him as a 13-time world champion, but when he won the title over in Japan, what he meant to the business, I think, would have eventually evolved and changed over time without him. So, like, I always think it's a bit of an overstatement whenever somebody says, well, without this person, this would have never happened. They might be saying that about Ozzy right now. Um, without Ozzy, we wouldn't have heavy metal music, or whatever. And I still think that, stuff like that, it would have happened eventually anyway. But definitely you have to give credit to the person who brought it along when it came along, because who knows, how long it would have taken for music to evolve or the professional wrestling business to evolve without that. But definitely some of the success, the popularity of professional wrestling is due to Hogan. That character that he played in the ring, the way it was set up with Another controversial figure, Vince McMahon, right? He's had some very controversial things in his personal life lately. But the character that was created by that WWF machine, and partially, in large part, due to the man himself, Terry Bollea, who played Hulk Hogan. Definitely the professional wrestling business would not have changed as fast as it did, as it would not become as huge and as big as it did in the same period of time and everything. Terry Bollea, that character that he created, Hulk Hogan, was huge in the growth and made everything professional wrestling the way it is today. And I'm going to say, with all these passings, I've shed a few tears in the past few days, because these people had a big impact on my life personally. And I would not be the person I am today without these people, even if they were flawed people who made mistakes in their life and did some questionable things from one time to another. Still, they made that big impact on my life personally. And, I just want to give a shout out to all of them. Thank you to everyone who watches my channel. I know that I have had some gaps of time. Sometimes there's been some gaps in between when I put out new videos. I'm going to try to get to a more frequent schedule of trying to put out videos more frequently. I've had some health issues and some complications lately that have led me to a very tough decision. And for the sake of my own personal health and my own well-being, physically, with the health complications that I've had of lately, I am retiring from professional wrestling. I have not had a match since February, but that will be my last match I had back in February. As far as wrestling is concerned, I was involved in one other show after that, but I didn't wrestle a match on that show. And I'll be involved in some other matches. So if you live in the Idaho area, especially, keep an eye out for me. I was still going to be working with Wrestle Club here locally, and maybe some other promotions too when they come in through, like Micromania. Shout out to Micromania, who I've worked with in the past, as well as other wrestling promotions. But it won't be as a wrestler anymore. So just physically, I'm not able to do it anymore. I love all you guys. I love all my fans. Thank you for watching my videos. I'm going to try to post some more of my matches. I know I have a few matches that I have up on videos of my matches up on my YouTube channel. I'm going to try to post some more of my different matches from over the years, and I really hope you guys enjoy that. But anyway, God bless you all, and we'll talk to you later, and we'll be back with another video. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Dragonfire out.